Alright, after 50 plus hours, I am ready to review Borderlands 3, and holy crap, is this a doozy. I'm going to do my very, very best to avoid spoilers. I've seen this has been a problem, actually, and so my reviews actually be very basic, just because I want to avoid spoiling anything. I feel like this game has a lot to offer, so I want to very much want to avoid spoiling anything for you guys, so this will be a very short, basic review, but will still get you the general idea of whether you should get this, what I recommend it or not. So going forward, let's talk about Borderlands 3. So Borderlands 3 takes place several years after Borderlands 2, and a new group has risen up in the Borderlands called the Children of the Vault. And the Children of the Vault are run by the Calypso twins, who've united all the bandits together, and they're just crazy, and their charisma and everything just unites the Borderlands under one. But their main goal is to find the Great Vault and unleash the powers within. So I actually really enjoyed the story of Borderlands 3. For me, I feel like the thing that made it really enjoyable is the pace. I felt like it held a great pace the whole time. It was very fast, but also still took a while to get through. Borderlands 2, I felt like had a big pacing problem where about like halfway through or three-quarters of the way through the game, I was just so Borderlands out and I had Borderlands fatigue. And I also felt this way with the first game. It's just they kind of a little bit like a weird pace all of a sudden in the middle, it just grind to a halt, and I was just kind of like, I'm kind of sick of Borderlands. But with Borderlands 3, I didn't feel that. I was able to blow my way through Borderlands 3 and have a great time, still completing every single side quest, and I actually wanted to start it right back up as soon as I finished it because I felt like this game had such a great pace that was really fun and it was just really enjoyable. But even once you beat the game, you can start it right back up and with the Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, or you can try out the new fun, crazy Mayhem mode. Whatever you want to do. But I just personally, I felt like the game just had a better pace and I was able to go along with the story and still have a good time even at the end of the game. I'd never felt fatigued at all and I wanted to go again. It was just so much fun and held my attention the entire time. Well, this is not the very best video game story of all time. It's not anything crazy. It's a Borderlands game. It was a minor step back from Borderlands 2, but it was a good story. I enjoyed it. And the writing I feel was really clever. The jokes were really funny. I was laughing a lot. Me and my buddy were laughing. It was a good time. It was really enjoyable. And the characters they bring in, the characters are amazing. And I actually got introduced to one of my new favorite Borderlands characters of all time. It was so great. Just the characters and the writing and everything was really well done. Like I said, it was a minor step back and it wasn't like the best thing ever. It was still enjoyable and I had a good time with it. So as for the villains, the Calypso twins, the new villains, and with Handsome Jack being like one of the greatest video game villains of all time, arguably, the twins were definitely a step back, which I was okay with because trying to top Handsome Jack is really hard. And speaking of Handsome Jack, real quick, I thought this game did a great job of not like in your face Handsome Jack. Me and my buddy talked about this. And we're like, oh, I just really hope they don't like try to like shove Handsome Jack down your throat and be like, look, Handsome Jack, we did this. It was really funny and cool, and you guys liked him. But they actually did a great job of letting the Calypso twins kind of just do their thing and shine. Handsome Jack, well, there were a couple of references here and there. He wasn't like a main thing of the story, and he does a great job of kind of just staying back. They just let the Calypso twins shine, which I like. But let's talk about the Calypso twins, what I liked and what I didn't like. So the Calypso twins, they're these two twins, and they like run like kind of this like YouTuber Twitch kind of thing, and they're just very charismatic and quick and just kind of funny. And one thing I really liked about them is their physical presence. You think back to past Borderlands games, and the villain was always just talking to you through an echo device. Even Handsome Jack was like that. But these guys are very physical. They're very present in the game, which I liked about that. They kind of got out there and got their hands dirty. And I appreciated about that. That was something we hadn't really seen in the Borderlands series before, which I like to see that. You got to kind of see them physically more instead of just their little picture up in the corner while they're talking and giving you shit through the echo device. I liked it. It was good to see them go out and do things. So at first, they're very fun and charismatic. I really enjoyed them. They were just really quirky and fun. And I was like, these guys are funny. But by the end of the game, it was kind of just like, oh, okay, I get it. And they kind of repeat like a lot of the same lines, especially like, what's up, super fan? Things like that. You're just like, whoa, okay. And so at first, they're really fun, but kind of by the end, they kind of wear out and kind of drug on for me. But it was okay. They weren't the best video game villains of all time, but they carried me through the story, and they had some good stories of their own. And they, like I said, each one kind of shines on their own, which I did appreciate. So there was definitely some things I liked and some things I didn't like. But overall, I liked them. They were good. They were good additions to the series, and they were pretty memorable Borderlands villains. Speaking of villains, in the Borderlands games, there's always like small little side villains you get while out and about. And this game has some pretty good side villains. I actually really liked them. My favorite being General Trant. That guy was hilarious. I was laughing. It was funny. And so it was nice to see some mix up and get some cool, fun new characters that were funny, but also like, wow, that guy's kind of a dick, because they are. And the game's like, yeah, that guy's kind of a dick. And you're like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. By the end of the game, I'd probably spend about 30 hours to beat all of the side quests and the main story. This was a long time for me. But I was also playing through with my buddies, so that was my just personal, just me playing alone was about 30 hours. But it took a while. It was good and it was enjoyable all the way through. But the best thing that I would absolutely recommend you do is play all the side quests. The side quests were so much fun, and each one was so different and introduced you to some of the best characters in the game. They're just hysterical and so much fun. So I absolutely recommend you try out all the side quests, and they're going to be very rewarding. So for the gameplay, this is the same old Borderlands you know and love. There's lots of shooting and it's great, and there's lots of looting and it's awesome. You're gonna have a gungasm in like the first 20 minutes of the game. It's just there's so much freaking loot and it's so great. But there was a lot of loot. I was making trips to Marcus Munitions to sell all my excess loot all the time. There's just this because like bleh, with loot. It's crazy, but it's so much fun, and the guns are just there are so many freaking guns in this game, and it's amazing. And the guns are really awesome. Each one has a very cool design. There's even some really fun and unique guns. You can definitely tell a lot of heart coming to making these guns because there's just so many of them and they're all so cool, and each one was really cool and unique, and it was always fun when I found like a really awesome gun. And there's even some really fun, just really wacky ones that I really liked. That was always a thrill to find. And so yeah, there's a lot of guns here, and you're gonna find ones you like and ones you don't like, and that's the fun in it. Every person's gonna have their own thing. I did find it weird in the first 15 or so levels. I couldn't really find a solid loadout. None of the guns like ever stuck with me. Not because I didn't like them, but just after like a level or so, they kind of just wore themselves out and they weren't really useful anymore and not very efficient. But then at a certain point, once I got a really good Jacobs revolver, I was able to be the most efficient vault hunter on the planet. It was good once I finally got a solid loadout that I was able to hold on to for several good levels, and then I was able to get to attach to these guns, and then I felt so bad every time I had to sell them away because they had outdone their usefulness. But it's Borderlands, and it was fun, and so it was just really odd for me to kind of have like a weird rocky first 15 levels where I was changing guns out every single time I leveled up just because some would lose their efficiency. It was really weird. As for the enemies, the Children of the Vault were pretty good fodder for the end of my revolver. It was good to go and just take out camps of enemies over and over and over. But it was fun. It was just very, very fast paced, and it just felt good. And also the gore is gnarly in this game. They brought back dismemberment from the first game, and so you can like shoot people's legs off and limbs are just flying everywhere. It's gross and it's gory, but it's so satisfying and it's so fun. One thing I will say though is the enemy design was awesome. All the bandits, they look very different, and it's not just the same bandit over and over and over. Very rarely was I like, oh wow, it's the same one. Yes, there are the same ones, but you just don't see them so often that it does feel like they're different bandits every time. And also the local like creatures and wildlife, they were fun to take down too. All of them were just very well designed, and they had their own special little quirks and abilities and things like that. And it all just worked really well, and it was just so much fun, and it just added a lot of variety to the combat. So I wasn't killing the same bandit over and over and over and over and over again, and it was fun. Boss fights are back, and a lot of them are tougher than ever. Some of these boss fights were so freaking hard. There was one of them that gave me my buddy. It took us forever. It took us like an hour. This thing was hard, but also they felt extra bullet spongy. The bosses were super bullet spongy. There was one boss in particular. It wasn't even hard, but that thing took me forever to take out because of just how much bullets this thing sucked up. Yes, it was a very large boss, but it just got really boring because I was just like, oh, it took out that much health. It took forever and it got really boring because it just wasn't even fun. And so yes, there were a couple bosses that were like that, but overall the boss designs, they were all very different and varied, and I liked it. They were enjoyable, just except for that one. Except for that one. So one of the best things about Borderlands is being able to level up your character, get new skills, and try out all the different action skills you get from these skill trees. And Borderlands 3 has some of the best skill trees in the game, and also the action skills are amazing. My favorite was Moe's because she has her mech tank, and you can switch out the guns. Each tree she has lets you switch out which weapon she has on her mech. And this was so fun. I was respecking all the time because I wanted to try them all. My buddy was like, "Oh, can you quit respecking my?" I'm sorry. This is just too fun trying all of them. Moe's was my favorite. Flak was a close second. And Zane and Amara were okay, but I'd absolutely recommend Moe's or Flak because they were just so fun, and the variety of their attacks and just everything was good. And they worked really, really well. But the skills themselves did really, really good. I felt like each skill actually mattered. One that increased your fire rate, you're like, wow, I'm actually firing a lot faster than I was. And it was great. And so the skill trees were my favorite. They did have a lot of depth and variety to them, but it actually mattered. All that depth and variety really shows, and I liked it. It was my favorite skill trees in probably the whole series. So you saw this in the trailers, and this game is taking you to new planets. It's going beyond Pandora to explore the Great Vaults. And these were fun. I loved exploring the different planets. While I was slightly underwhelmed, I was thinking there was going to be more planets, but I didn't have like crazy expectations that there'd be like hundreds of planets or something like that. But in the end, there's only like five, I think five or six. And well, each one is very different, and I loved it. Aesthetically, they all were very, very different, and it felt like I was on a different planet, which I liked. I liked that a lot. but I was honestly thinking there was more. Not in a bad way. I'm just fine with what I got, but just for some reason the way they advertised it, I feel like I was getting a lot more, and then the way that Borderlands 2 set it up. But in the end, I liked it. I liked the change of scenery. I liked how things were different. I never felt like it changed the scope of the game. It didn't make it feel like it was much bigger than Borderlands 2, but it changed up the locations a lot, and I liked that because each location felt very different from the last one. So my next thing I want to talk about is the biggest problem I had with this game. And at the time of this review, I'm going to specify that. At the time of this review, the game's been out for about 2 weeks, and this has not been patched or fixed. In the future, they've promised they've fixed this, and so if it is fixed, then this part just kind of becomes null. But at the time of this review, 2 weeks about after the game's come out, this is still a problem. Split screen co-op is so difficult to play, which sucks because Borderlands 2 was like the optimal split screen game, just like the vertical split, and just the way everything like moved and the way the game handled it was so swell. But Borderlands 3, the split screen is terrible. It's so bad, and that sucks because my buddy and I were so stoked, but we get so frustrated and so mad with how poorly this game handles the split screen co-op, and I'm going to tell you why. So the split screen co-op is when you and a buddy are playing next to each other on the couch. Weird, right? This is a brand new philosophical idea in the modern gaming industry. You and a buddy are sitting side by side playing the game together, and you're having so much fun, killing bandits, looting guns, and everything's going great. But God forbid, do not open your menus. The game comes to a grinding halt when anyone opens up the menus. The frame rate dives like it's going for the gold medal at the Olympics. Oh my gosh, the frame rate just tanks so hard, and it is so aggravating, especially in a game where you like try to change your inventory or loadout. Like you're in a fight and you like see a gun, you pick it up and you're like, oh, I want to use that, so you have to open up your inventory. Don't open up your inventory. My buddy and I had to establish that very early on. The frame rate just tanks so hard, and it makes the other person just they die because the frame rate drops so low they can't even move. And it takes the game a good several seconds to figure it out. So yes, the split screen co-op is almost unplayable. It's fine until someone opens up a menu, visits a shop, or does anything that causes like pulls up a menu of some type. Then this game tanks so hard. Yet again, they said they're adding a patch to fix this, but at the time of review, this is the problem, and it's still present 2 weeks after the game has come out. So if you're looking for a great game to play with your cute couple or your good friend or whatever, Borderlands 2 was perfect for that. Everything works well, but Borderlands 3, it's almost, like I said, it's borderline unplayable. It's really, really hard, especially since there's no vertical split screen. It's only horizontal. So that makes text and other on-screen things so hard to see. It was really frustrating. My buddy and I had a hard time trying to get through this just because of how annoying everything was. And so I can't wait for a patch. Can't wait for a patch. But it's getting there. They said they're working on it, so I appreciate that. They know they're working on it, but it just sucked because Borderlands 2 was so perfect at that. That game worked so well. To see them take a hard step back with this one where it's so bad, it wasn't fun. It was such a buzzkill for the game, and like I said, it was my biggest complaint about the game as a whole. Other technical issues I had, there wasn't a whole lot. My biggest one that I only had like once was after a cutscene, all of a sudden my model just started falling through the map, and so like I could slowly see the map just disappear above me. And it was really sad and disappointing because it was just like it was a good part of the story, and so I was like super into it. And the cutscene ended, and all of a sudden it's just like it was like so then I had to quit the game and restart it. It was just really annoying. So I hope to see something like that not happen to anyone else. It was a bummer that it happened to me, so hopefully it didn't happen to you. But it was quite annoying, and it just doesn't look professional. That's something we saw back in 2011. It's 2019. Hopefully things like that shouldn't happen, but hopefully they'll fix it. I'm glad it only happened once. So, in the end, this game was crazy. There was an okay story, good to okay story. The characters were good, the writing was good, the villains were goodish, and everything else, it was good. But my favorite thing was it held a good pace that kept me entertained and wanting to play the whole time. My biggest complaints go to the split screen co-op, which is terrible. I just went on about that. But the loot and the shooting, it's all so great. So for Borderlands fans, I absolutely recommend Borderlands 3. For me personally, I actually think it was my favorite Borderlands games. Just the thing that kept me the most was that pacing. I loved how I just kept wanting to play it. And even after I beat it, I wanted to start over again, pick a new Vault Hunter, and try it out again. It was so thrilling and so fun. I loved that. But with its just terrible split screen co-op, that's hard for me to recommend to those people who are like, I know people like to play with like their wives or their girlfriends or their best buddies. It doesn't work. Not at the time. But once that patch comes out, things will be good. So that's definitely some minus points in my book. But overall, Borderlands 3 was such a great experience that I would absolutely recommend Borderlands 3 to any Borderlands fan. But if you've never played a Borderlands game before, it's hard for me to recommend this game to you because A lot of the jokes and the characters and people you'll meet in the story you won't be familiar with because they're present in older games, and so you won't appreciate it as much. So I highly recommend go play Borderlands 2, then play Borderlands 3 because you'll appreciate it and you'll like it a lot more and you'll kind of get a feel for the systems more. So yes, I liked Borderlands 3 and I would recommend you get Borderlands 3 if you're fans of the Borderlands series. I loved all the loot this game had to offer. The shooting was really fluid and solid, and the different variety of enemies and the planets and the side quests. It was all just so much fun, and I can't wait to dive back into this game again because it was just so fun. And I would recommend checking out Borderlands 3 if you're a fan of the Borderlands series, or if you haven't played Borderlands before, play Borderlands 2, then Borderlands 3, and I would absolutely recommend it for you. So that's my review for Borderlands 3. Sorry it took me so long to get it. This game was just so big and a lot of other things going on that it took me a couple weeks to get this review out from when the game came out. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the review and hopefully you enjoyed the game as much as I did. I liked it a lot. Like I said, it was probably my favorite Borderlands game. What's your favorite Borderlands game? Let me know down below in the comments. And also while you're down there, if you want to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified every time I post a new video, that would be great. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.